I have to confess, I love drama. I do. But I don't like it when it happens to me. So this talk is about that, me avoiding any incident, any monitor that rises an alert in the middle of the night, that I have many of those. And I wanted to avoid all of that. So now there's nothing broken. This is on purpose. I want to do an imagination exercise, okay? I know we have that still in our brain. I want you to imagine an old room with quite old illumination system. It works, it just has the bulbs. And those bulbs, they consume quite a lot of energy. And yeah, and maybe someone on the back will tell me, why Alejandro, why you are not using one of these new generative models to make this image? So what about this? It's closer to what you're thinking. These old bulbs that consume a lot of energy, and you're thinking, well, we live in 2025, maybe we can be more eco-friendly and change this bulb with something that produces consumption, like changing it to LEDs. Yeah, we have a very old wiring system, so what do we need to do to get to something like this? So the thing is that I know where we are right now. I know where I want to get this new LED system, wiring, perfect, so it's easier to do maintenance. And the problem is the travel to get there, the path. How do we get there? I love this image from XKCD. Probably many of you have related. It's a reality for Python at the end. Two maintainers, a small piece of work that everyone is using, and travel perk is the same. At the end, we use many. And in this talk, I'm going to be talking about one that we use so much, that is Pydantic. And you will see how I handle all this work to be able to change that small piece and not waking me up in the middle of the night. So who I am? I'm Alejandro Cabello. I work in TrialPerk as a software engineer. I've been around, well, the company has been around since 2015. I joined them in 2017, and I've seen the company grow so much. So when I joined, we were around 40 employees. Of those, 10 were engineering. And now we have grown so much. We are in the company more than 1,800 employees of more than 250 engineering teams. Why is this important? You will see, because I have to deal with teams that are all over the world. Now we have offices in LA, Birmingham, Edinburgh, London, Berlin, Barcelona. So this is global. We have to do a migration on a team that is globally distributed. And what is TrialPerk? So TrialPerk is a business travel platform for companies. You have a company, you have your employees, and you want them to travel, but you don't want them to send emails to agencies, hey, I want to book this. And so what we do is we allow your employees to book by themselves and making sure it's in policy and under budget set for traveling. And why is this important? Because it's being used by thousands of travelers by every day. So if I cause a downtime, there will be people that maybe is stuck in an airport. So there is real impact on everything we do in TrialPerk. So I was thinking on these constraints, I want to make this migration smooth. And for me, the definition of smooth, how I was setting it now, is there are no service disruptions. You cannot stop. This is 24/7. Customer care, support, booking my flight, my stay, it has to be 24/7. And on the other side, on the engineering, I cannot block my teams. I cannot let them, hey, you cannot merge or deploy anything for 1 week. I cannot do that. I just cannot. We cannot stop the teams that are globally working. And the third one is that no one can notice that this is happening. This is in the background, like a ninja. I am adding an asterisk because at the end, I want it to be noticed. There is something better. We have a LED system replaced. So at the end, you will see that there were some gains. Let's talk about Pydantic, this piece of software that we heavily use in TrialPerk. In Thrallberg, we mostly use it for shared data models. We have a repository that defines the objects that are reused, and this is shared across many services. So they are reusable models, and we can define what we expect. What is a flight model? What the flight model is required, not. So it's one place defined. It has the data validation. It ensures that when we are storing some value, it is the one we expect. And serialization. At the end, it helps us send that back in JSON to our clients that are consuming. So think that we were having some issues regarding serialization. It was slow. We needed more. And then this came out, Pydantic v2, something we were waiting probably for years. We wanted faster serialization. We wanted to gain that speed. And when they announced it, we jumped in it, but we didn't jump in the old services. We started using it on the new ones, and why not? Because it was promising 4x to 50x speed boost on Pydantic compared to Pydantic 1.9.1, and this is thanks to Rust. They moved many code to Rust. Now, by default, it comes with a strict mode. So the coercion is completely gone. Probably many of you suffer that you set a string and then suddenly, oh, it became an int. How that happened? Now this is not going to be the case, and you're going to have many failures by default. What is good, because now by doing this migration, I discovered that because it was not set by default, there were many strange things happening. And then, as I was saying, this aligns with the company-wide initiative of moving to V2. If we keep adding Pydantic v2 to new services and not to the old ones, something will break. Eventually, it will break, for sure. But there was a challenge. And it was nice from Pydantic. They offer an extensive migration guide. And my question is, how much extensive? So I don't know how I could show it. I recorded myself scrolling down the migration guide. It goes on and goes and goes and goes. When you write code, every time there is a major change, you are just scared. Like, no, I'm not doing this. It's too scary. But let's get into code. This is the fun. We like to code. I hope everyone here likes to code. So I divided this in 5 chapters. It's a journey we're taking with me all over this migration. So we are going to upgrade a large code base to Pydantic v2. So the first chapter, I call it Into the Unknown. Okay, where are we getting into? Like, hey, Alejandro, you have this project? Go for it. Like, I don't know what to do. Okay, where are we? Remember, this is the plan. We need to upgrade to Pydantic version 2, make it as smooth as the previous definition. No one gets blocked, nothing stops. And it has to be incremental. And why is this important? When I tell a team, hey, this is ready to upgrade, it might be months until they have the capacity to start working on it. So this will expand for many months. Let's get inside, loading. So the first question I made myself was, how many Python repositories do we have in the company? So I went there, checking GitHub, and there were more than 100 directories. Okay, it's gonna be interesting. And how many of them they are using Pydantic? So I have to build my own script that goes using the GitHub API. Actually quite nice, this script, because it was able to generate a report, what I built, and telling me exactly this repository uses this version. We use pip tools, so I'm able to find everything, checking on the requirement txt, and I make that graph. And I was thinking for myself in the future, this report is nice now to know what's the state, but I can run it every day, and I can see the progress of the things that are moving from Pydantic v1 to v2. So if a manager, hey, Alejandro, how is going the migration? Let me run the script. I'll tell you. Way easier. But there were many of them using Pydantic v1. Okay, that's going to be some work. And then the next question is, okay, Pydantic v1, but I know you can import it directly, or sometimes it's coming from another library. And I started digging out, okay, where is this Pydantic v1 coming through? And I kept looking, and everything was pointing to this repository, TK models. Okay, fine, TK models. Probably if I change this, it will cover some of them. But how many of them were using TK models? Again, I made another script that checks, given these TK models, tell me, where is it used? How many of them? It's almost in every repository. So okay, we have a source. We have, okay, if I change and make TK models ready, probably it will solve most of the migration I have to do. So we jump to chapter 2. Oh, TK models, what should I do with you? So checking the code inside TK models, like the TK model space py, or in other places, places.py. Of course, as a trial company, you have places. We were directly importing Pydantic and using base model or their different classes. It was very nice from Pydantic to give a compatibility layer. So I could do just this, adding a .p1, and this just works amazing. If I do pip install Pydantic 2.5, works. That's the talk. Thank you so much. Let's go grab a beer. Fantastic. No, wait. we are still running it in V1 mode. It's not that easy. So what should we do? Where are we? So I could offer TK models as an only Pydantic V2. I forget V1, but then it's going to be tricky to offer it to people that is still using V1. I could fork the library. I have two libraries at the same time. And then someone is introducing a change in one, someone is introducing a change in the other one. That's not going to work. Make the current library support V1 and V2. Where it might be some work, but that could help, or none of the above. So at the end, I went for this one. I want to make the current library support V1 and V2 because it will make way easy to every team to adopt this whenever they need. I don't have to do, hey, next week, you cannot work on this, and you have to jump on the new one. No, you have any time. I'm not blocking you. No one noticed. So let's go to chapter 3, the Pydantic multiverse. So the first thing I did was thinking, okay, if I'm going to do this, I cannot import directly from Pydantic. I'm going to create a base class where all the imports are happening. So I call it Pydantic base. But then I was thinking, I have three options here. Pydantic V1, Pydantic V2 in compatible mode, for those ones that are already installed but cannot run V2 still, or Pydantic V2. So there are three ways. So what I decided is I'm going to create three variables. And with these ones, I could control what version I'm running. Fine, I have a way to tag which one are we using in this one. And then and with this, I could set the imports depending on which one we are using. And you will see, Alejandro, there are repeated things. Why are you adding repeated things? There are twice the from Pydantic import base model. Because I'm thinking ahead of what's coming. I'm thinking that I will have to clean this later. So I'm facilitating adding things and preparing for the cleanup. And this will actually, if you set the variables, it will run in the configuration you want. But there are changes. So for the things that are named the same, it's cool. But what happens for the new classes or methods that appear, like core schema or decimal validator that comes from V1 that is no longer present? I get an error. Name is not defined. What is true is not defined in the new library. So I was thinking, okay, what should I do? What should I do in this case? What if I declare it as null? So it's known, and this works. It's like it's present now. It's like if it's Pydantic 2 and I have decimal validator, I set to no. I don't care. I'm not going to use it. So parts of the code is defined, but I'm not going to use it. And that worked really good. Then it doesn't stop there because there were more deep changes. The validator functions, not only they change the name, they change completely the signature of the function. And this is, okay, it's going to be more tricky because I cannot send knowns or this is not available. I will have to live with this. So we were coming from Pydantic V1, okay? Let's go to the function, to the validator function. And I didn't want to go to all over the code changing where it appears validator. I'm going to stick with one kind of working. So for now, for this library, I'm going to stay with Pydantic v1 structure. And what I was thinking is, how can I do like a compatibility layer of this validator? And I was thinking, okay, this is a wrapper, that the decorator that I'm going to keep using. What about this? I create another decorator that injects the decorator inside. And depending on the function you have, is Pydantic v2 or Pydantic v1, as you see in line 16 or 23, I will inject another decorator. And when it's Pydantic v2, I do the transformation layer of what is always in Pydantic v1, what it means in Pydantic v2. And this worked. I was able to add this layer that allowed me, okay, I don't have to change field validator everywhere. And kept using validators, so these two became compatible. That was easy. I didn't need to use the second one. But there were more changes. So in Pydantic, now that's good. I start importing from Tiki models Pydantic base. All the base model, config.dit, constraint float, everything we are using is coming from here. That is compatible for everything that we are running at the time. But then there are specific things. The class config that we use to configure the base model changed, and it's no longer a class, it's a dictionary. And then the only way is to add in if. Is the only way I could find at that time. It's like, it's fine. In some places, I will have this if control. It's not that bad. So let's make one object. Let's one object that is fully compatible. Passengers. Every travel company will need a passenger. So we create one, and we have a passenger type that can be an adult or a child. And in this case, it had an alias because we were doing a migration, and we kept things old because from 2015 to 2025, many things changed, and we are really bad at naming things. I think many of us experience this. And we did the populate by name. So I just add this if part. Hooray, we are running passenger model in Pydantic multiverse. If I install Pydantic 1, Pydantic 2 in compatible mode, or Pydantic 2, this will work, and we have a passenger. And now we are jumping to chapter 4, what I call all those tests. I want you to imagine how was my process going over the test, that when I had only 30 left, I was writing to a colleague, look, I'm going to hide. There are only 30 left, and I want to get this done. But the thing is that I was coming for something like this, where I have 172 failing tests, and it was not something that you fix one and fix all the tests. It was going almost one by one. But it's good because on the test is where it really highlights where are things changing, where are the breaking things. It's actually, okay, this is good because it's like I could trust a bit more when releasing things that the tests are covering me a bit more. So I'll show you interesting things that I discovered going over the test. One of these is this. Remember, we changed the class config to a dictionary. And in this test, we were using monkey patching, and we were changing one part of the configuration. Now, because how it's done, I have to do an iteration over every child to be able to modify the dictionary, because now it's not propagating. Before, if I was monkey patching the parent class, it will propagate to the kids. Now I have to go to every dictionary because it has a copy of the dictionary. More things that were interesting, and it were related to coercion. Now, coercion is disabled by default, but then there was this interesting thing that I have to change in the code. Before, this object that was using time, in the line 5, you can see that we set as a time, 9 o'clock, and that's fine. But then it was failing. If I tried to use 12, it was fail, or if I was adding seconds to the time, it was failing. And this was not happening with Pydantic. And then I went back to my code. Okay, I have changed something that now is working with Pydantic v2. Validation completely changed. The validation method now is coming from core schema, and I started using the validation with info after validator function in the line 9. And if you see, there is a handler time. So it was taking the number, the strings, it was converting to time. So let's see what is really happening here. If I use full time 12, T12, as an integer, in Pydantic P1, this is an int. If you see the validation function, this is not covered, and it will not be able to do it. But now the handler is transforming to time, and it's getting to line 18, so it's able to convert if you pass it to anything. I say, okay, that's interesting. And there were other things that I found out. We have a test. I don't know why we have this test, but then I start digging, okay, what's happening here? It turns out that we were testing the mutability of the validators. If you were doing a pop on a validator, it turns out that every time you call dict, it was removing that object. So I don't think this is something we want at all, that you run dict and you serialize, and then it's, hey, where is the number? But then this didn't happen. In Pydantic V2, it was completely gone. It's like making a copy, a dict copy, that if every time you validate, it's not happening. Let's go to the last chapter, the chapter 5, that I call There is a Package for You. So remember, we want 3 packages. I want to be able to still offer Pydantic V1. I want to offer Pydantic V2 in compatible mode, and Pydantic V2. So what I think is, on the setup, I'm going to make a second one, setup V2. And I was thinking, I can inject, when building it, a dictionary that contains how I want it to operate. So it has a package name, but as well how I want the Pydantic compatible mode to work. On the left one, on the setup V1, I set the compatible mode to true. And on the right one, that is pure Pydantic V2, I set it to false. And as you see, I set the names. And now I needed to create the config. That it was empty, but when running setup, it will be injected, this file. It will have the configuration I'm running. And now I create init.py that is going to read that variable and set it in the environment variable. So now I'm able to build. I can create 2 packages. One is the TK models, and the other one is the TK models 2. And this is the final result. I could pip install TK models on the left upper right. It installed Pydantic V1, and it will work. I can use the TK-based model fine. In the lower one, Project G, I can pip install TK models and at the same time install Pydantic V2. And that will run as Pydantic V2 in compatible mode. And then we have the Project F, that if I install Pydantic, TK models 2, it's pure Pydantic. There is no compatibility layer. So I could enable, okay, what do you want? You can pick. Oh, we are done with the code. So let's see the impact. What was the actual impact? Remember I said no one noticed, but the thing is that when we did the upgrade, the latency of the hotel search, we had the spikes of 1 second in P95. It just went down steadily to 200 milliseconds. So we are gaining on speed on the serialization. That was really nice to see that there was actually some value on upgrading this. So my conclusions are 2 incremental upgrades. Break the large migration in a smaller one, and support these steps that will take the teams to be able to do it by themselves. Don't take it by yourself because it's too large. I will have no time during 1 year to make this migration without them. Collaboration, communication. It's not only that you prepare this, you need to talk with the teams, plan with them the upgrade, all the things that they learn, something that could fail. And the coordination is super important. And then it's future-proofing. Invest in the right technology at the right time. If we were to say that, nah, we are not upgrading the older ones, it could be a failure at some point because we will have incompatible models being used around. Thank you so much. This is the office. You can scan me, and we can connect in LinkedIn. If you ever come to Barcelona, you can come visit us in Trialperk. Super happy to have you, have a talk. We have a barista coffee, and we can have there some good, nice chats. Thank you so much.
Now, who have questions? It's really impressive what you managed there. But how did you know before you started that this approach of transforming between V1 and V2 for every different, in all of these different little places was actually going to, in the end, work, that you weren't going to hit something that was just insurmountable or entirely crazy? How did you know that there was enough compatibility between V2 and V1?
I had to go all the way. And the thing is that this is a project that started January and ended around October. Some of the team members that are there work on it. And the thing is that you learn along the way. What I'm telling you in this presentation right now took me a long time to discover. Even the decision of the things of adding this decorator that will do the translation to the old decorator took me a while. Okay, what should I do? Sometimes it's the kind of things that you go for days because you don't have a solution. Now it's easy because I give you the solution. At that time it wasn't.
Just one quick extra one. So if you had to make the decision again, would you decide to just do something more ruthless and just say, look, we're going to have 2 versions of TK models. We'll have some tests to make sure that they're in sync, but they're not going to try and, it's only the new TK models you can really use. If you're having trouble, well, upgrade.
I will not do it because I know we've done this in the past. We were migrating from schematics to Pydantic, and we have to support both of them. I think schematics was still there for years. I think we recently removed it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I didn't know there was a mic over there. Thank you for the talk. It's very refreshing.
Sorry, who's talking?
Yeah, it's very refreshing. Yeah.
Ah, sorry. I would like.
Very refreshing to see real code and real stuff going on, especially at this scale, which is something that we don't get to see very often. Thank you so much for that. I've got 2 questions for you.
Yes.
One, given like how general purpose the stuff that you were working on and probably how useful will be for not just for me but other people in the audience too, have you considered open sourcing this package for the community to benefit in the migration from Pydantic? You just said that the migration guide is extensive and hideous, and having the ability to do this in a somewhat automatic manner could be very valuable. And the second question that I want to ask you is obviously regarding AI. Like, have you ever used it in this project? Was it useful? Was it problematic? Was it dragging you down? Like, what was your experience with it, if any, with AI? Thank you.
Yes. So some parts, like the scripts to check on GitHub the state, I was thinking on opening them. I share it internally to the whole company. I'm still thinking in sharing it. And the idea about this migration on how to share it was this speak, just to spark a conversation and getting deeper more on the intrinsics of the whole thing. These are the major learnings. I know there are more. I could fit them in 25 minutes. AI. So during this migration started last year, January. AI, I use it. I use the LLMs available, not the ones that are now making changes all over the code. It's true that Pydantic offers a script that goes all over your code and makes some changes. It's not fully complete, and many times you will see, hey, I left you a comment, I don't know how to deal with it, you do you. Yes, LLMs will not cover absolutely everything. Some parts. If fully trusting a cursor, I don't know, sometimes it's too critical on how to do these changes, still. Because I think they are good on fixing the things they know, on the unknown, on the new things. I think there is a gap there.
Yeah, like I said, thank you so much for the talk.
Hey, thank you for the talk. We actually went through something very similar with Pydantic 1 to Pydantic 2, and I recognize many patterns that we used in that migration, which was quite similar in the basic approach, I would say. And actually, while you showed the long migration guide, I actually found that it was not detailed enough. There were some important things missing. But from your perspective, do you think there's something that the Pydantic authors could have done to make this thing easier? And I'm not just asking in spite of Pydantic, I really love that software, but in general, if you have authors of a library that really wants or needs to make big breaking changes, what would you recommend them to make our lives easier as developers?
I think they tried the best. To be honest, when I was checking on migrating, the compatibility layer was not there. It was added later. I was like, yes, thank you. and then I know there was this migration script that I ran. It was not complete. That's fine. I know that migration understanding. No, I think having it's better having this long, extensive documentation than not having it. So for what they could have done, I think they did really good. But of course, there were many other things, like make it more extensive. It could, but there are things that you don't discover until you go in your code and just, I was using it this way, and now this is failing this way. Sometimes it's impossible to cover all the cases we are using.
Last question, because out of time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. I was wondering that always having external dependencies is a risk on your code. And you already, and many of us, we have to adapt for the new versions and so. I was wondering if in this case, in your experience, will be, or for the future version 3 or whatever next technology comes, it would make sense to have an interface for the data validation or for any other things that allows you to just changing what is behind this interface and not having to go down to your core business code to do the migration. Will that make sense or is it worth?
A data validation layer. At the end, these sticky models is abstracting and putting everything in one place that we are even we started breaking it down in many small pieces. I don't know, I really don't know if an extra layer will help on this data validation.
So thank you, Alejandro.
Thank you so much to everyone attending. I hope you like it.
Applause, please.